Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knack. Hey,
it's the best.
running through the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade? Well, this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it. Got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got y'all rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. CJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to another episode of the 110 Nation Sports Show. I'm your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here on this Monday night. Back to being on the radio weekend. Looking forward to talking about a lot of things that went on this weekend, from two of the undefeated teams of college football being knocked off their pedestal to the good old NFL, the NASCAR. Good God. NBA starts tomorrow night. Kind of excited about that as well. Before we get into all that, and before we get Patrick Taylor from Line Blowers to join us tonight, let's take care of a few things. If you're not checking us out on Facebook, check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out our sport side of the house, 110 Nation Sports, and the radio and guest side of the house, 110 Nation Sports Radio. Check out our website, www.the110nation.com. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Say what's interesting. Supposed to have debuted this morning, but at some point Friday, I pulled something in my back. And it just kept getting worse Saturday, and then Sunday, and then this morning, and it's still bad now. I'm just dealing with the pain now. But I couldn't deal with the pain this morning to do the show this morning. It was really hard for me to sit anywhere. And so I couldn't do that or the Monday morning quarterback because I kind of need the other lay there. It just got so bad I can barely move. I can barely get up, down, just a lot of things. It takes me forever to get up. And then when I get up, I can't move for a good 30 seconds to a minute before I can actually move and even take any steps. I don't know what it is, and hopefully it don't last very long. Last time I had this kind of pain, it was a little bit worse, and it lasted about 2 weeks, but I did that actually at the gym. I know exactly when I did it, so this is why this is a surprise to me, because I'm not been to the gym recently with the work schedule and having the kids and having one vehicle and everything we're doing here at the 110 Nation, so not quite sure how I hurt myself this time, but tomorrow we're going to run for the debut of the 110 Nation Morning Show. Just a way to get your guys' morning started off, a little sports talk, bringing you a lot of scores and facts and highlights to kind of get your morning started, but it's also, kind of the same thing as the 110 Nation Sports, but just a little bit more scores and stuff to get your day started with. Do that 1 hour in the morning from 8 to 9, Monday through Friday. So looking forward to having a morning show. Looking forward to help getting your day started, getting you on your way, and hitting some of the major topics that kind of finished out and popped out the day before. So looking forward to that. Don't forget, we got the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got the Monday morning quarterback at 11 to noon. We got Rubbing is Racing. I did that just a little bit ago from 7 to 8. And Thursday nights we got Racing with Big Sweat from 9 to whenever. Usually about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Depends on how many guests. I think you've got 3 or 4 again lined up this week. I know last week we had 4 guests. We had a surprise guest, so if you've not checked out that episode, Make sure you check out last week's Racing with Big Sweat. We had a crew chief come on. They're getting NASCAR sanctions, and he came on and talked about that. So make sure you look up the show on the 22nd of October. And then we also have the CJ and Shorty show on Fridays at noon. We had a great time again this Friday. Looking forward to next Friday. Opportunity for us to kind of cut up and trying to push the envelope. That's what we enjoy about the CJ and Shorty show. What else did I want to throw out there? Oh, regardless how you catch the show, make sure that you go over to Spreaker and follow us. We got to have at least 100 follows in order to get our network on the iHeartRadio network and TuneIn Radio. And it's kind of our next goal as we're working towards getting on the radio. By the end of 2016, we want to be live 5 hours a day. I'm sorry, 8 hours a day. Right now, we have the availability of being live 5 hours a day, and now with the morning show, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we're on 3 hours of the day. Friday, we're on 2 hours a day, and Monday, we're on the complete 5 hours of the day, and Saturday and Sunday, we have no shows on. So, we obviously got ways to go before we hit our goal, but we have goals, and that's what we're shooting for. So, first we want to get all 5 hours we have available to us right now locked up so then we can up our plans. So we're definitely working towards that so that by the end of 2016 we'll be on 8 hours a day. If you're interested in joining the 110 Nation, maybe you want to co-host or host a show. We're definitely looking at the options of adding some shows to our network. All you got to do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in writing for our blog site, as we're starting to put a lot more focus towards that so we can start getting that back where it was once upon a time. You can also email me at MrCJSports@gmail.com. Interested in coming on the show? Maybe you are an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, some kind of team or whatever. All you got to do is hit up Miss Lee, that's LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Also, if you have a blog site or even a podcast, you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, or maybe you got some charity or foundation you want to come on and promote. Like I said, all you got to do is hit up Miss Lee, that's LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. So much stuff this weekend. All right, tell you what. Crazy. Obviously, I'm not going to begin in the NFL, so we're going to save that for when Patrick Taylor joins us at 10 o'clock. Speaking of Patrick Taylor, but speaking of crazy, Tuesdays and Saturday nights, for those that live in the Fort Bragg, Fayetteville area, you want to participate in the best in pool, go down to Drifters Country Saloon at 412 Bragg Boulevard, Spring Lake, North Carolina. It's 412 North Bragg Boulevard. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. for 8-ball tournament. Saturdays, 4 p.m. for 9-ball tournaments, $5 entries for each tournament. Best of 3 each round, double elimination, APA rules on 9-ball straight, 8-ball call shots. Make sure you guys go down there and prove who you are, that you are the best of the best. Check out Drifters Country Saloon pool tournaments on Tuesdays and Saturdays. Let's tackle this big-headed monster. First of all, I was scoping Facebook before I got on a good old Facebook. Good old Facebook. There is a petition. Put Dale Jr. in the Chase petition. They're trying to get 7,500 people to sign this petition. Right now, they're at 6,036. Their petition goes, Dale Jr. was cheated out of the chase spot by Kevin Harvick in NASCAR. NASCAR should have given the fans what they wanted. Well, you know what? If NASCAR gave the fans what they wanted every single week, then Dale Jr. would be in victory lane every single week. You don't always get what you want. wanted with a better finish. I agree that the finish was not really what we were hoping for. And, we kind of had this discussion on, I know at least Rubbin is racing. I'm not sure if we had it on the show or not. But I felt that if having a one green-white checkered finish by any way affected or kind of helped dictate the outcome of the chase, then there would be a lot of backlash. That it would be an issue. And ultimately, the one green-white checkered, well, the fact that they did two attempts, that's what we'll get into that. But the fact that under NASCAR's thought process, that because of their green-white checkered finish, new format, there's a possibility that this chase has just been dictated by that, ultimately that scenario. And for those that missed it yesterday, NASCAR went 130 laps. 345 miles without having a single accident. Kudos to them. They did a great job. Then all of a sudden, we get into the latter part of the race, and all of a sudden, the best of the best, those that had been traveling 345 miles, 2, 3, even 4 wide, they have been able to travel this whole time without causing a wreck. You're going to tell me all of a sudden they can't manage to restart a race. And ultimately that's what it came down to. 345 miles without a single wreck, without a single issue. Then all of a sudden, in the last 3 laps, the green-white checker, whatever, we already with the 100 laps. But all of a sudden, they couldn't even go from the restart box to the start-finish line without wrecking. Don't ask me how this is possible. 200-plus miles an hour, 2, 3, 4 wide, drafting and inches apart, bumping each other, 50, 60 miles an hour, trying to get up speed, wreck. Still ain't figuring this out. The first attempt of a green-white checker. This is where all this controversy is. We're just going to skip right to it. Because as exciting as Talladega is, there was really not a lot going on for that first 130 laps. It was double wide racing. It got single wide there for a while. Martin Truex stayed behind, had a bad pit stop, went a lap down. Denny Hamlin had the driver's roof flap, and there was a malfunction, and so he lost a lap trying to get it sealed shut. There was a bunch of little loose-end things to keep you entertained throughout the race, but no controversy, no real action, nothing else. It was what it was. Then comes the restarts. Now, under NASCAR's rule, one attempt at a restart. Now, before we get into this whole attempt of a restart, we understand as fans and as the drivers, as it was very notably said in every show that has been on since this has happened, that to start the race, the start-finish line dictates the start of the race. And then as we've known for especially more so the last couple of months with this whole restart debacle and them having to rewrite or put the lines on the track and everything else, that the restart box and the leader dictate the start of the race. So when they hit the restart box and Joey Logano takes off, the light goes green and the green flag goes, that is an attempt. Of course, because that means Dale Jr. is not going to go into the next round because he's not leading the race, because you can't change positions before you go to the start-finish line. That automatically voids him out. Oh, no. That doesn't count as a restart. They didn't say there had to be a green-white checker. They didn't say there had to be a restart. The exact wording was, there has to be one attempt at a green-white checker. Just like in football, when they attempt to kick the field goal, if a defender gets in there and blocks the kick and he can't even kick the ball, that is still considered an attempt. They attempt to kick a field goal. So therefore, if they hit that restart box, the driver takes off, both the light goes green and the green flag gets waved, that is an attempt. No matter how you try to reword it, no matter how you try to think outside the box, it is still an attempt. Okay, I hear you, Mr. CJ Sports. You're being a little too particular about this. You're stressing the attempt part and the fact that they got the green and the green light to go, and that still shouldn't count because they didn't pass the start-finish line. NASCAR says, and me being a Dale Jr. fan, it shouldn't count it because they didn't go past the start-finish line. Okay, for the fans out there that think that way, I don't agree because I understand what the word attempt means, but okay. To keep Junior Nation happy, so there's not an uproar out there, that was an attempt. But hold on. When they did the second attempt, and they wrecked once again about 50 feet to 100 feet up the track from where they wrecked the first time, and it happened before they hit the start-finish line. Why did the second one count? Now NASCAR Nation, they were all happy because they thought Junior had won. And a lot of them still think that it's amazing how you can Photoshop something or make yourself believe that is the honest-to-God truth photo or answer to the result of the race. And what I mean by this, there's only one actual footage out there, and I've watched many shows, and I have looked at many different photographs of evidence. There's only one shot, and that is the shot of you looking at both Joey Logano and Dale Jr. head on when that caution light went off. Any photograph that anybody has seen that has a side view, that is not when the yellow flag came out. That is either someone not knowing and doing the research, or it's probably a Dale Jr. fan, because I've seen Dale Jr. fans as so much as far as gone to taking pictures and Dale Jr. being about a half a car length in front. Now, there was no point in that whole restart that Dale Jr. was in the lead, none alone a half a car length in the lead, until they had done slow down and Junior just happened to roll a little bit further faster than Joey Logano before he got back in front of him. The only picture that is honest, authentic, and gives you a true idea of where they were and how they finished was the picture, and unfortunately it's a head-on shot. They didn't have a side view camera right where it happened on the track. They just didn't. It's not like they have side view shots everywhere, cameras set up everywhere on that track. They just possibly can't. Not to give you the angle you need to see who was in the lead at the time that caution flag came out. Unfortunately, it's a head-on shot. Fortunately enough, if you're unbiased and don't really care who goes and who doesn't go, such as myself, because I really care because I don't want either one of them going, to be honest with you, I can do a true assessment, and yes, I can see that Joey Logano is a little bit ahead of Dale Jr. Now, don't tell Dale Jr. fans, don't tell Junior Nation, and obviously don't tell the people on this petition, because they're bound to determine that Dale Jr., one reason or another, should be allowed into this chase, which I'm surprised NASCAR has not made a special exception. Back, a few years back when Gordon didn't deserve to be in the chase and didn't earn his way in, but because MWR couldn't do a Kevin Harvick, they decided they were going to blab their plans all over the place and get penalized for it and open up the opportunity for NASCAR to change the rule, make a special rule for Jeff Gordon to get into the chase. I'm surprised that they ain't done it again. That's just NASCAR. Kevin Harvick. Talk about that for a second. I'm going to tell you what I want to believe. I'm going to tell you what I believe at certain parts, and then I want to believe you what really happened. I'm going to tell you what I believe really happened. There you go. As we've heard in-car audio, basically saying if this attempt goes and it goes the distance, we're not making the chase. This needs to end before it gets started in order for us to have a chance. Followed by Kevin Harvick saying, tell Team 6 to push me. What I believe was supposed to happen here was Kevin Harvick knew his motor was blowing. He stepped out of the way the first attempt. This attempt, he wasn't stepping out of the way in hopes that the same thing was going to happen. There was going to be a wreck. So knowing that you're not getting much faster, 30, 40 miles an hour, whatever the case may be, what I believe was the whole plan, without blabbing it out so you got in trouble, you tell Team 6 to push me. He guns it. He pushes me. I, with air quotes, spin out because I was pounded from behind, and there's your caution flag. That's what I'm going with. That's what I believe was the original, the idea that was supposed to go behind that. Now, when Team 6, Trevor Bayne, decided to go around him, then I believe that he said, oh, shoot, let me slide up a little bit. Let me go ahead and cause him to spin. Chain reaction once again in the restart, and this is our attempt. What I want to believe happened is, honestly, I want to believe that Kevin Harvick wanted Trevor Bayne to help push him along in hopes that there would be a wreck somewhere, that his push would keep him ahead of who he needed to stay ahead of to get into the chase while this wreck happened and the race got called. Then when it didn't happen, I want to honestly believe that Trevor Bayne slipped past him, and he was trying to get in the way of Matt Kenseth, who was behind Trevor Bayne, and when he got up, he didn't allow Trevor Bayne to clear him, clipped him, and caused the whole wreck. I want to believe that it was an honest racing mistake trying to block and get into that lane, not him intentionally trying to cause a wreck. But what I believe, it was all a plan from the beginning. Now, with all that being said, it does not change who should be in the chase. Just like back when NWR did what they did, I don't care if they blabbed on the radio or not. It was stupid. and cost sponsorships and people to lose jobs and riots, and now essentially the death of MWR. But I don't believe there should have been anything done back then, nor should there have been a special rule to get Jeff Gordon in the chase. Everybody cheats. Every week. Prime example how I know everybody cheats. Speed limit 55. Everybody goes over that because NASCAR tries to be nice and give them a variance of 5 miles an hour. So technically, by the rules written in the NASCAR rule book, speed limit's 55. If you're going 58, you're cheating. I think there should be more than a drive-through penalty if you get caught cheating, because not only are you speeding, you're speeding past the variance that you was given on top of that. So you're like double speeding. You're like intentionally saying, you know what, F you, F the rules, F NASCAR, I'm going to go as fast as I want down pit road. That's just the way I look at it. It's funny how everybody just concentrates on the 48 team for cheating when everybody cheats. I mean, how often has Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus really got penalized for cheating? Yes, they might have trouble passing pre-race this and pre-race that, but there's a lot of drivers and a lot of teams that do that on a weekly basis. I guarantee there's not a week going to go by. There's at least at a minimum 5 drivers that have to go through inspection twice. Everybody's just worried and focused about Jimmy Johnson instead of worrying about their driver. I don't have a problem. I know this is not going to be popular, especially with Junior Nation. Baltimore Ravens just went up pending the 1-point conversion, 10-7 over the Arizona Cardinals in the Monday night game with about 3:54 left in the second. I know it's not going to be a popular response by Junior Nation and some NASCAR fans. I don't have a problem with what he did. Not one bit. If this would have gone to the backstretch, turn 3, turn 4, or even possibly into turn 1, I would have, not even possibly. If it would have gone any farther, then once they hit about 100 miles an hour, got into the first turn, yes, I would add an issue with them. Them not even hitting the start-finish line, and him doing what he did, I know it's a real crappy move, and I don't want to see NASCAR go to this, but if I'm the defending champion, and I knew that this race went to that first turn, I was done for the season, I probably would have done the same thing too. And if you're sitting there shaking your head saying, no, I would have done it, this, that, and the other, then either A, you don't have the fire to be a champion, or B, you're full of garbage. Because if you want to be a champion, you're willing to put it all on the line. And even if you would have even if it would have been deemed that he did that intentionally, even if NASCAR would have penalized him, that would have been me. And even if I got, and I would have got penalized, if that was me, if I would have got penalized by NASCAR, at least I gave it a shot. I have that desire. I have that passion to win a championship. I am not going to sit there and think, what if I would have made sure that restart did not get no further than where it would have got the first time, and we could have won a championship. Like I said, I don't want to see the sport come to this, but at the same time, as long as it's not obvious looking, I know that it doesn't look the greatest, but at the same time, you knew what he did. I don't know. I guess thinking about it, kind of have to take mixed emotion, because then we're going to see that be an issue at the restart. But I just want to believe that he honestly just tried to block Matt Kenseth, and it wasn't intentional, because that could turn things really ugly at the start-finish line. At least he had the common decency and the courtesy to not do it doing 100 or 200 miles an hour. That would have been a really bad thing for the sport and a really bad thing for Kevin Harvick in his career. Dale Jr. not getting in the chase, I'm really surprised that NASCAR is not going with. There's no doubt in our mind that he intentionally wrecked Trevor Banks, so Dale Jr. had an excuse to be in the chase. I know that it takes a lot of pride and a lot of sucking up of some pride to proclaim Joey Logano the winner and not giving Matt Kenseth a penalty to put somebody in the chase is your money. That's what the fans come to see. And granted, he's still going to be out there on the track, but it's just going to put a bad taste in a lot of Junior Nation's mouth because their driver's not in the chase. And it's not going to win a championship. I mean, we already know that he's never going to win a championship, but he's not going to win a championship. They still have hope. Someday, Junior Nation will wake up and realize that, hey, we're never going to win a championship. I mean, I'm a Danica fan, and I've come to the realization we're never going to win a championship. And that's kind of what's good about being a Danica / Kyle Busch fan is, yes, I know my one driver is never going to win a championship, but there's a good possibility Kyle Busch can win a championship. Junior Nation, you might want to grab onto a driver that you feel can win a championship as well, or better yet, the rest of the world feels that can win a championship, because you're not going to win a championship being just a junior fan. It's just never going to happen. Outside the last 2 years, he's never, ever been a serious threat or even a consideration of winning a championship. And this last couple of years, he's still really not even that serious of a threat to win it. Just more of a threat. Petition. Are you kidding me? Joe Logano wins the race. Don't want to take away from that. Had a really good race. Junior had a really good race. Finished second. Led a lot of laps. Jeff Gordon, oh my God, that man makes it to another round, slips in. It's not won a race all year, but good Lord, don't tell Gordon fans that either. Don't tell the Rainbow Warriors out there, because you would have swore that he's already won the championship, or is definitely going to have that drive for 5. It's ridiculous. The Gordon Nation out there, get over it. Your driver should have retired like 5 years ago. He does not have the fire and passion that he once had, and that's kind of the excess. The whole pack thing. If for those that are catching on, I had to move and it's not good on my back. Anyway, conspiracy theories out there. You go with it how you want to go with it. Obviously, at first it looked like NASCAR was doing everything they could to get Junior into the race. Then it looks like they are trying to stay out of it at this point. And now the conspiracy theorists out there that have Kevin Harvick kept him out of the chase. So, just like Junior, and I tell you what, he was a class act in his post-race interview. I'll give him that much. He showed a lot of class, and like he said, if we would have performed better in the first 2 races of this round, then we wouldn't have been in this position where we had to win the race and we had to perform, second place, and we still didn't get into the next round. So he kind of brought it on himself, and the team did. So I tell you what, a lot of class and how he conducted himself in the interview. He could have really disrupted the NASCAR scene and said a lot of things and caused an uproar, but instead he took the high road. He knew that they didn't perform at the greatest throughout this round, and really, even with the controversy, that he really shouldn't have been going into the next round. And so, I applaud him for that. So It's like no matter how I sit, which way I twist myself, it just unbearable shots. It just feels like shots of pain just constantly come through my back. This weekend, college football. I'll tell you what. It's amazing how you change your quarterback, and all of a sudden, critics out there go from doubting Ohio State and questioning why and how they're still number one to all of a sudden now they're back to being everybody's favorite to win the NCAA championship again, the BCS championship again this year. That is really amazing to me. J.C. Barrett gets the starting nod this week. They went 49-7 over the Rutgers. It's funny because they beat Indiana, who was undefeated until then. They had a pretty good game against Penn State, who had only had one loss until then. They've had some decent, not good, but decent opponents. But here they play their Rutgers, and they win 49-7, not even a better team in the Big Ten. And because of the quarterback change, now all of a sudden it's Ohio State favored to win a BCS championship. It's crazy to me. But I definitely like what I saw. I talked about this last week when they made this decision. The three-headed monster, Braxton Miller, Ezekiel Elliott, and J.C. Barrett running the ball. It reared its ugly head. Exactly what I said was going to happen is what happened. They were able to run all over the place and left the opportunity for a lot of passing. And, everybody got involved. Urban Meyer did a very good job of just making sure everybody got distributed to. It was just a very solid game. And the 7 points was garbage points that happened at the very end of the game. Either way, it was still 7 points. And it costed me a bit. Very upset about. I had somebody that messaged me, a Ohio State fan. As a matter of fact, Tim, we talked about him many times on the show. But messaged me talking about 49-7. The 7 points was in garbage time. I still counted it as a shutout. And I had to tell him, I was like, I can't take it as a shutout. I had a bet that it required it to be a shutout, and I would have been taken care of very, very nicely. But instead, they scored 7 points, and that ruined it. So it's not a shutout to me. So, but Ohio State definitely looks strong offensively, defensively. Looks like the Ohio State team that finished off last year. So I know there's a lot of Ohio State Buckeye fans out there very excited, and a lot of other teams out there now starting to get scared because now the Buckeyes are looking like they're getting things together at the right time. And we also had this discussion how the votes got distributed around, and one of the teams have questioned. There were 2 teams that I questioned, or 3 teams I questioned in the top 5. I didn't understand why Clemson wasn't higher, and Alabama wasn't higher, and there was a couple other teams that I just didn't understand why Utah, TCU, and Baylor were ranked as high as they were. Not playing nobody. It just didn't make sense to me. And sure enough, Utah showed us a prime example of why I was questioning why they were ranked where they were, as Utah got the brakes beat off of them 42-24 to USC. So we're obviously going to see a shake-up, a nice little shake-up in the polls. As a matter of fact, Utah's not even in the top 10. TCU tumbled down to number 5, still should be lower than that. I'm still not understanding why Baylor's sitting at number 2. Still question that. We got Ohio State number 1, of course, and they gained for both. Baylor number 2, I'm still questioning that. Clemson should be up there. They're number 3. LSU should be above Baylor as well, number 4. Michigan State, tough opponents. They should move up and be in the top. Honestly, that still should be your top 5. Ohio State, Clemson, LSU, and Michigan State, and Alabama. That should be your top 5. TCU should not be in there. Baylor should not be in there. I still don't understand this whole AP top 25 or BCS, whatever. It's looking like BS right now. But Utah, thank you for as in the words of the Golden Girls theme song, thank you for being a friend. Yes, very, very happy to see what happened to Utah. And it's not that I got anything against Utah, but it's just ridiculous how them, Baylor, and TCU are getting the attention and everything that they have done. Everything is being said about them, and the spotlight that everybody's trying to, well, not everybody, but a certain group of people are trying to spotlight on these teams, and they ain't play nobody. And then once Utah, and USC wasn't even ranked, and we've seen how badly they got beat. And, honestly, if Utah would have played some better opponents, we wouldn't have even been talking about them. Just like Baylor and TCU, they would be playing ranked teams or better or stronger opponents than Big Ten or SEC opponents. We wouldn't even be having the discussion we're having. But instead, they're playing WAC teams in their conferences and WAC teams, period, and that's why they're still sitting at 2-5. Michigan State 6, Alabama 7, Stanford 8, Notre Dame 9, Iowa cracking the top 10. That gives you 3 teams from the Big Ten in the top 10. Iowa controlling their own destiny. Other big games this weekend. How about Georgia Tech blocking the field goal? Yeah, that's why I didn't say Florida State in the top 10 no more. How about Georgia Tech blocking the last-second field goal and taking it to the house to beat Florida State? I tell you what, it seemed like there was a lot of confusion on what to do with that ball. When he blocked it, it was like everybody kind of stood around like they just assumed it was a dead ball. And the Georgia Tech defender grabbed it and started running around, and it was like all of a sudden I was like, oh, yeah, we still got to play because the game was tied 16-16, and Florida State was trying to win it with a field goal and keep the game from going into overtime, and it was like it was mass confusion, and the next thing you know, Georgia Tech's taking it to the house. Georgia Tech victorious over Florida State 22-16. Ole Miss over Texas A&M. We was talking about Texas A&M and where they should be ranked at this point, as suffered another this time to Ole Miss 23-3, as Texas A&M is now fallen into 5-2 record. I tell you what, I know once upon a time there was a lot of discussion on how serious this team was and how much of a threat this team was, but it's not looking so good and so threatful anymore. For those that are not watching the game, Arizona is in red zone. They are second goal with about 1:40 left until halftime. Looks like Arizona might be going into the half as they're about looks like the 1-yard line at this point with a second goal opportunity, maybe the 2-yard line now that Chris Johnson got tackled, maybe even the 3-yard line where he got tackled at. We'll call it a 2.5. LSU able to be victorious over Western Kentucky. I tell you what, Western Kentucky kept that game close there for a while. Wasn't that big of a blowout at first, and of course, obviously LSU pulled away as the game went on. But kind of surprised that Western Kentucky stayed in as long as they did. Duke overtime, 4 overtimes, not just 1, not just 2, hell, not even 3. Against Virginia Tech. This is why I still don't understand why we have a discussion about Duke being in the top 25. They have beat nobody. You can't beat a bunch of ACC teams and there be a value of them being ranked. That's just not how this is supposed to work. I'm sorry, but you can't beat up on Virginia Tech and Virginia and Boston College and God, who else is Wake Forest and Pittsburgh and get ranked. That's not strength of a schedule or opponents or nothing. Cardinals just scored a touchdown to go up 14-10 before the half with 1:01 left. So I'm hoping, and we're going to check out the top 25 together. I'm hoping that even though they won the 4 overtimes against a nobody, I'm hoping that that knocked Duke back out of the top 25. It's kind of an insult that Duke is even in the top 25. Oklahoma State all over Kansas, 58-10 to improve on their 14th ranked season. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the family members and friends and everybody of those 4 that passed away in the parade by the drunk driver that plowed into the people at the Oklahoma State parade the same weekend, that earlier that day. So thoughts and prayers out to them. Oklahoma, 17th ranked Oklahoma over Texas Tech, 63-27. Alabama had to come back against Tennessee, struggling but holds on and wins 19-14. Michigan State all over Indiana, 52, actually doubles them up, 52-26 to hold on to their 7th ranked. Toledo, 19th ranked Toledo. That's weird to you say. Yeah, being a man from Ohio, I just never used to hear Toledo ranked. But Toledo, that's interesting. Carson Palmer on his 150th starts. If he wins tonight, he'll be 75-75. His first 128 starts with the Cincinnati Bengals, he was only 57-71. Since 2013, Week 8, he's been 17-4. So better than any other quarterback in the NFL since Week 8 of 2013. Interesting fact. Interesting. Good team. Arizona. Don't even get me started on Carolina. Arizona's still one of my favorites out there in the NFC to take that. But 19th ranked Toledo over UMass 51-35. Clemson not only shut out Miami, not only did they win 58-0, they also got his coach fired. They got their coach fired today. Head coach of Miami, Florida, gone. Suffered the worst loss in their history, 58-0 to 6th ranked Clemson. 25th ranked Pittsburgh over Syracuse, 23-20. 21st ranked Houston over UCF, 59-10. 2nd ranked Baylor over Iowa State, 45-27. 18th ranked Mississippi over Tulsa, 66-42. Obviously, no defense on either team. And 20th ranked California lost to UCLA, 40-24. And 22nd ranked Temple, 24-14 over East Carolina. A lot of great games, interesting games this weekend. I was shocked to see some of these games and how they played out. Not so shocked that some of these teams lost, but how badly they lost. You know, I understand Utah losing, but 3rd-ranked Utah, you lost to an unranked team, 42-24. Florida's 11th. Oklahoma State moves up to 12th. Utah is slid to 13th. I'm surprised that I would have said outside the top 20. Not only did you lose to an unranked team, you lost bad, very, very bad. Oklahoma 14th, Michigan 15th. So we'll get you four Big Ten teams in the top 15. Not too bad. 16th Memphis, 17th Florida State, Houston 18th, Mississippi 19th, Toledo slides up to 20th, Temple slides up to 21, Duke maintains at 22, Pittsburgh slides up to 23, UCLA moves back into the top 24 or top 25 to 24, and Mississippi State 25th. That's your top 25 for this week. Tell you what, like I said, interesting. You watch 2 top 10 teams not only lose, but no longer be undefeated, but lose their game this week. Then we have the controversial call with NASCAR, and just when you thought the weekend couldn't get any excited, we had NFL as well. I'm very excited about having the opportunity to have Patrick Taylor on, and we talk about some of these headlines because the insanity. You know, I tell you what, I don't think he's got the whole Jacksonville-Buffalo game on tap, and he might. I don't know. He sent me a list, and I got to pull it up, but I got to thank the Jacksonville Jaguars for making me be wrong. You know, I criticized the NFL because a standalone game at 9:30 Sunday morning, Buffalo Bills and the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Buffalo, I understand you didn't know that E.J. Manuel was going to be back to being the quarterback and they're going to suck. But we've known that Jacksonville sucks. I mean, Jacksonville has sucked for years now. And I didn't understand why you sent Jacksonville out of all teams. Like, I just would have visualized you're trying to expand your market. You're trying to put a product on the field that you know without a doubt is going to be a good product. So why wouldn't you have the Buffalo Bills versus, I don't know, the New York Jets or the New England Patriots, a division rival, a game that you know is pretty close to evenly matched, maybe more so the Buffalo Jets game. Instead, you sent one of the worst teams in the NFL that constantly has a top 3, top 5 draft pick. That tells you how horrible they've been. And what do you know? After all that talk last week, not only did the Jacksonville Jaguars show up, but they beat the Buffalo Bills. I was kind of shocked. That's how the Sunday. I knew when that happened. My Sunday was shot. I'm sitting 8-5 right now. The best I'm gonna pull out is a 9-5 record at best, but sitting 8-5 right now. And I know that I still did better than Shorty, and she listened to the show because I seen that she called in, and she lost 7 games, so she's looking at best to go 7-7 with tonight, and it is going to increase my lead on her and our bet about 2 more games. But I got to rebuttal my previous comments in questioning why the NFL sent the Jacksonville Jaguars. I guess obviously they knew something I didn't know, but very surprised that not only was Jacksonville in the game, but the fact that Jacksonville was able to be victorious over the Buffalo Bills. Blake Bortles, a hell of a throw, helped bring them back and take their lead toward the end of the game. So congratulations to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And you know what? Thank you for making me be wrong. Like I said, didn't expect that. Didn't expect the Jacksonville Jaguars to actually show up 1 week. So the 1 week that they do is why I'm over there on Monday. Go figure. Make sure that you guys check us out on Facebook. Check out my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. Check out the site and the sports side of the house, 110 Nation Sports, or check out the guest and guest and radio side of the house, 110 Nation Sports Radio. Also check out our fan page, our website, the110nation.com. Check out our blog, the110nationsports.com. Don't forget, the 110 Nation Sports Show is on Monday through Wednesday, 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday nights, 9 to 11. Monday morning quarterback, 11 to noon on Mondays. Rubbing is Racing from 7 to 8 p.m. on Mondays, Eastern Standard Time. And then tomorrow morning we make the debut of the 110 Nation Morning Show from 8 to 9 a.m. So looking forward to having the opportunity to do that, get you guys started out every morning on the right note, on a positive note, and looking forward to that opportunity. So, interesting week. Glad to have the opportunity. I mean, but, you know, the ultimate goal is 8 hours a day, but right now we have up to 5 hours a day, so we can have 35 hours. So to know that we're up to 16 hours a week on Sports Talk Radio, that's come a far way from the first day when I was just going to do a 15-minute show and call it a day. So now that we are on and I'm part of 16 hours with Sports Talk Radio. If you're interested to help us fill the other 19 hours, like I said, we got 35 hours worth of Sports Talk Radio available to us right now. I'm definitely looking to fill some more of that time. We're paying for it. Why not use it? Hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com if you're interested in co-hosting or hosting the show. Also, if you're interested to help us put our blog site back on the map and you're a journalist and you want to write for us, all you do is hit me up as well, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Interested in coming on the show, all you got to do is hit up Miss Lee, that's LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. May do us a favor, check out Snafu Seasoning, that's SNAFU seasoning.com. It's a meat rub. Very, very good stuff. I've heard it has been put on popcorn, popcorn. I heard it's banging. I heard bacon. It's banging. Just a lot of great things you put this product on. It's a meat rub. You can go to snafuseasoning.com. It is not in stores. You can buy it online. It's like $6.99 a bottle. Check them out. Help support them as they support the 110 Nation and help make the Thursday night show, Rubbing is Racing, possible. So check them out for us as well. And like I said, pool shooters, if you're out there and you think that you are amongst the best out there, go to 412 North Bragg Boulevard. on Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays at 8 p.m. for 8-ball tournament. Saturdays at 4 p.m. for a 9-ball tournament. $5 entry fee for each tournament. Best of 3 each round. Double elimination APA rules on 9-ball. Straight 8 for 8-ball call shots. If you think that you are amongst the best out there, all you have to do is go down to 412 North Bragg Boulevard and check out Drifter's Country Saloon and get there early enough as they usually fill up out there. We got Patrick Taylor from Line Blower joining us to talk this next hour of NFL. We have a long list of things that we want to jump into tonight, and 9 out of 10 times, I don't think we've ever got through a whole list yet. We might have once. Don't expect tonight to be any different. Of course, he'll be on again tomorrow night from 10 to 10:30 as we wrap things up of week 1 and prepare you guys. Or I'm sorry, not week 1. Week 7. Yeah, week 7, and get you guys prepared for week 8. But without any further delay, let's go ahead and get him on the show. How are you doing tonight, Patrick? Hello? All right, let's come now. Can you hear me? Hello? Was it my end? I'm sure it's mine or not. Can you hear me? Hello? Let's try this one more way. Can you hear me this way? Oh. That's because I think that I used the I think I was plugging the wrong one on. I think that's what my whole issue was. Let's try that again. All right, is this Patrick?
Yep.
All right, I was plugging the wrong. I was plugging the wrong caller on. That's where the confusion was. I tried a different headset, so I didn't know if it was the headset wasn't working. So I didn't know if it would play right with the phone or not. So I wasn't sure what was going on. But that's because I was plugging the wrong person. And I apologize to the listener out there who was just trying to listen. We got Patrick Taylor from Line Blower on tonight.
Good, man. How about you?
I can't complain at all. Very interesting weekend. NFL, all sports were very interesting this weekend. I don't know how much of a NASCAR fan you are, but I'm sure that you've seen the controversy and all the headlines last night and tonight, especially on social media. So it's definitely been a broadcaster, journalist dream this weekend with the upsets in NCAA and the NASCAR, and then, of course, what we got to see this weekend in the NFL.
Yeah, man, it was a great week at NFL. I don't follow NASCAR too much, but I saw some stuff on social media that people were chattering about. So it's always good when there's a lot of news and a lot of topics. Makes it a little easier and a lot more fun, that's for sure.
Most definitely. Before we jump into your agenda tonight, as always, I want to give you an opportunity to plug yourself and plug Line Blower. So go ahead and do your thing real quick.
Yeah, I'm from lineblower.com. Our newest addition since last time we talked, we are now on Instagram, line_blower. It's the same handle as we use for Twitter. You can like us on Facebook and check out our blog, our outcome predictions that we do for all ranges of sports, as we specialize in the NFL when we talk to you on Monday and Tuesdays.
Interesting weekend in the NFL. Not once again one of my better weeks as I'm sitting 8-5. Just another one of those weeks. But I am 2 games up on my co-partner, so I'm happy with that. First thing on the agenda is, and they were just talking about it at the halftime report of the 14-10 Arizona over the Ravens game right now, is the Giants and the Greg Hardy, I don't know what you want to call it, You got sideline antics, but I'm kind of confused on who's got control of this team at this point. But let's talk about the game first, and then let's jump into talking about Greg Hardy.
Yeah, it was a game that was mostly dominated as far as the stat line goes by the Cowboys. I mean, rushing, passing, every statistical category, the Cowboys really took control. But when you commit 4 turnovers in a game, it's going to be tough to win. And they also gave up a special teams touchdown late to Dwayne Harris, who was a former Cowboy, signed with the Giants in the offseason as he took a kickoff back 100 yards. So the Cowboys fall 27-20 to the Giants. Matt Castle, even though he did throw 3 picks, I think he showed that he's an upgrade from Brandon Weeden. I really blame the Cowboys management staff for sticking with Weeden, in the off season, because he was just such a liability. He couldn't do anything, make throws to win the game. Castle took a lot more chances, made a lot more plays, but when you're taking chances, the risk for turnovers and mistakes are there. So I think if he can shake off a little rust, maybe they can get a couple wins out of him before Romo comes back. But it was a game Dallas really needed to win. The NFC East is a disaster at this point, where the Giants lead now pretty much, the sole possession of first place. But it was just a disappointing, outcome for the Cowboys when you dominate the game and at the end, make mistakes and give away a game that you really should have won.
There's 2 things that I want to point out about this game as well. Is one, the fact that Dallas defense actually held them and had another opportunity coming their way of possibly doing a scoring drive with, a minute and 40-something seconds left or something at that point. I forget exactly how much time was on the clock. But their punt returner fumbles the ball back to the Giants. That had to be a tough blow to your defense, especially knowing that you held them, did what you had to do, and give your offense an opportunity to get back on the field, and your punt returner just gave it back to them. And then the 2 passes I think that stick out most to me is both the sideline toe touch catches. One was leading down the drive, and of course the other one being the touchdown. That I don't know what impressed me more was the fact that Matt Castle put it in that spot that only the receiver could catch it, or the fact that I don't know if it's the same receiver or 2 different receivers that had those catches. But the fact that they were able to be literally on their tiptoes as they caught it and stay in bounds and kept possession of the ball.
Yeah, the first thing with the punt returner, Cole Beasley, who's probably the most sure-handed player that the Cowboys have. They, like I said, let Dwayne Harris go to the Giants. He was their punt returner, kick returner, handled it for the last couple of years. They have Lucky Whitehead, an undrafted free agent out of Florida Atlantic, who showed in that game that he can make some plays. They, had put a couple wrinkles in the offense. He carried the ball 4 times on a couple different jet sweeps. I liked, the diversion as far as getting him involved on the offense. But Beasley, he just dropped the ball, and that's one guy on the team, and one reason they had him back there is that he doesn't drop the ball normally. So for a guy like him who's as passionate and as competitive as he is to make that mistake at that point in the game, it was really, really tough for Cowboys fans and the Cowboys faithful to swallow. As far as Castle's ability to make plays, like you said, he put the ball in places on those throws that only the receiver could catch it. And Devin Street, who's a second-year player from Pitt, made a heck of a catch on the tiptoes, to drag his feet. I just, when you turn the ball over 4 times and then give up a special teams touchdown, you're not going to win a ball game in the NFL. And for it to be that close to only lose by 7 points, really is, dumbfounding in the sense that they should have won that game.
Most definitely agree, obviously. And I believe that when I was watching NFL Network last night, they had got a response back from Jerry Jones that Matt Castle will be the starting quarterback next week. So, obviously, everybody feels that was an upgrade. I think there was one person on the show that didn't quite agree, but I think stats and what we've seen on the field, most of those turnovers weren't even Matt Castle's fault. I think one was deflected, and I forget, I think one was a crazy catch, and I think one was the receiver let go of the ball or deflected it or something. I don't think all of them were actually his fault in the first place, but obviously the Cowboys need to find a way to win. If not, it don't matter who comes back and who doesn't come back at that point if they're too far behind. Luckily for them, this division's sucking right now, and I think, 3-4 record or 4-3 record is your lead. So it ain't going to take much to come back, but, depending on how long it takes both of Des Bryant and Tony Romo to come back, it might be too late.
Yeah, I mean, you look at teams. I mean, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a backup quarterback that comes in and he goes 1-1, and then they have their third-string quarterback come in and he beats one of the best teams in the league, in the Cardinals, last week. So I really put that on management. And going back to Jerry Jones, what team owner answers questions about who's going to be the starting quarterback after a football game? I mean, he should not open his mouth in any shape or form as far as personnel decisions go, especially on a week-to-week basis. That's why he has a head coach, and he has a pretty good one in Jason Garrett. Can kind of carry us over to the Greg Hardy discussion, is the fact that after that blow-up on the sideline, Jerry Jones was first one to back him up without even really knowing what happened. And I just think after all these years, as Jerry Jones has gotten older, it's best for him to keep his mouth shut and let the coaches and that sort of thing do the talking.
Speaking of the whole Greg Hardy thing, I know that Jerry Jones labeled Greg Hardy as a great leader and everything else. I know what he brings to the Cowboys defensively and how he helps this defense. They needed a pass rusher, and Greg Hardy's a good pass rusher. But with all the distractions off field and now on the sideline, at what point is enough enough? Is somebody's value on the field that good that they can overlook everything else that is bad?
Well, that's the thing. The Cowboys were in desperate need of a pass rush, so they go out and they sign Greg Hardy, who is arguably probably a top 5 pass rusher in the league. I mean, the guy's an animal. His work ethic on the field is never questioned. His work ethic on the practice field is never questioned. It was always his ability to be, to show up on time for practices and to stay up, stay out of trouble off the field. He struggled at Ole Miss with showing up to meetings on time. And I just saw later this evening that he was on the report earlier in the week that he had an illness, and reports have rumored that he just didn't show up for practice. They had a call. They were looking for him. He was just MIA, which scares me more now that everything's come to light. A guy doesn't show up for practice, and then you let him slide and you let him play in the game, and then he blows up on the sideline where he puts his hand on a coach. I don't know. The one thing I'll tell you is that he's on a pay-to-play contract. I mean, he only gets paid for the games he actually plays. So if the Cowboys cut him tomorrow, they would not be on the line for any sort of, financial guaranteed money. I mean, he literally gets a paycheck when he plays and when he's active, not being on the roster, just being active and actually playing in the game. So it'll be interesting to see if it's really an issue, like some of the rumors are floating around. They may very well just, cut their losses. But Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett both backed him up and said, that's the type of player we want. We want a guy that's passionate. I don't know. I think they're trying to save face right now and hope that maybe they can, corral him to get some of that under control and to try to get back on the right track.
I think there's only one system that'll get him on track, and that would be the New England system, because we've seen some of the worst players go there and shut their mouth and play in their system. I just don't think Jerry Jones and Jason Garrett are intimidating or the right people to try to instill this is how it goes or you're not playing concept. To me, they just both look like a bunch of pushovers, and it just my curiosity gets to me on how much value it is really, is the value of what you're getting on the field really worth all the headaches and him playing his hands on the coaches and not knowing from one week to the next if he's even going to show up or practice or anything else. It just, like I said, we can sit here and say the top 5 pass rusher in the league, but is all the baggage that go with it, is that really worth having a top 5 pass rusher in the league? So,
yeah, and the worst part too is that winning cures everything. So if the Cowboys were winning, this wouldn't even be a topic of discussion, but it happens with any other players really. When Des Bryant is involved, and he happened to be involved this past Sunday, his issues come to light. Greg Hardy, now that they're losing, now that this is happening, it's an issue. So if the Cowboys can reel off a couple wins, which at this point they have to play Seattle, this next week, that's going to be a very, very tough task, even with the way Seattle's played the last couple of weeks and really since the beginning of the year. But if they can reel off a couple wins and Greg Hardy keeps his mouth shut, I don't think we're talking about it. If they continue to lose and he continues to be an issue, there's a real good possibility that he won't be on the team in the next few weeks.
Good possibility. We'll definitely keep our eye on that. It gives us something to talk about anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of things to talk about, the Patriots and the Jets. A game that was, I guess, closer than I thought it was going to be. I mean, the Jets were 4-1 going to the game, so, I mean, the Jets are a good team. I didn't think it would be as close as it was. A couple of interesting things about this game, and I'm going to let you jump into it. 90.9% of the play call was passing. Leading rusher was Tom Brady with 15 yards. And since, what year was it? I want to say 2002, 2003, something like that. Tom Brady is 4-0 when their play selection is 80% or higher. Pass call being called. The rest of the league since that in that same span is 3-109. So obviously there's something about that that the Patriots like the rest of the league can't get. But I also thought it was interesting that Tom Brady was a leading rusher. God knows he's one of the slowest quarterbacks in the NFL. So I thought both of those were interesting. Amendola showed up. I was really pleased to see his catches, and he had some spectacular catches as well. What things about this game that interested you?
Man, you said it perfectly. I mean, that's just a testament to how good Tom Brady is. I mean, he's just unbelievable. When you throw the ball 54 times in a game and what unofficially is counted as 11 drops, 6 by Brandon LaFell, 6 drops by one player in a game. I talked last week on the show about how the Patriots were susceptible to the run. I thought, the Jets' defense, especially their corners, can take away those intermediate routes. So it was going to be a strength-on-strength battle, and the Patriots just went right at them. They didn't care. They went after Revis. They went after the whole bunch. In the fourth quarter, Brady was 14 for 17 with 2 touchdowns. He just continues to do amazing, man. It's really a testament to how good he is. I'm speechless to the point that he's just that good, that he can go up against arguably the best defense in the league, the best defense, we talked about that last week in the Jets, and throw the ball 54 times, have 11 of them go through his receiver's hands, and then still to be able to, pretty much command the game, especially in the second half there, is just a testament to his greatness. It's really unbelievable.
It is, and doing my football picks until somebody can prove to me that they can outsmart Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, I can't bet against them. And they obviously do their homework, their research, they game plan, and obviously they can do things that other teams can't do and do it efficiently. And we see that once again with a little over 90% of their play call being passing. So.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked last week. I thought the Jets would cover the spread, which they did, but they covered it in a very interesting way. And they actually even brought it up on the radio broadcast, on the play-by-play radio broadcast. The Jets were 10-point underdogs, 9-point, 10-point underdogs, so depending on where the line was. But Todd Bowles elects to kick a field goal on first down from 53 yards out. Takes the points, they make the field goal, so the Jets are covering the spread. They get the onside kick. Brandon Marshall makes a mental error with an illegal motion penalty. Clock runs off. But real interesting Vegas analysis there that Todd Bowles elects to take a field goal, take the points when he can. They make the field goal. They cover the spread. End up being a 30-23 game. Vegas really saw the line fluctuate there at the end. But just an interesting point. But, yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's the man. There's really no question about it. I don't think anybody doubts that he's not the man, but week after week he continues to prove that there really is nobody better than number 12.
Most definitely. It's just crazy to think back that he was a 6th-round draft pick, and he is where he is today. And it's just amazing that you never know. You don't. Number one pick or the very last pick, you just never know who's going to be that man. And Tom Brady is obviously obviously opened our eyes to make sure that you take every pick, no matter what round, what number, serious, because you just never know. You might find that diamond in the rough.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And going into the season, starting quarterbacks heading into the season, there were only 3 quarterbacks starting that were drafted 3rd round or later. 4. Brian Hoyer, Russell Wilson, Tony Romo, and Tom Brady. All the other quarterbacks in the league heading into the season were drafted 1st or 2nd round. So of the 4 quarterbacks, Tom Brady's 6th-round draft pick, and he's probably the best quarterback to ever play a game.
Yeah. Now, I got a friend that passed one of these NFL memes photo on, and I thought it was interesting. I had a chuckle, and I actually responded on his post, but he obviously didn't want to respond back. And the top half has got Patriots fans, and it says 6-0, baby, undefeated season, here we come. And then on the bottom half, it's a black and white picture, a man holding up his hand like stop, and it says, please, you beat the Jags, the Bills, the Colts, the injured Cowboys, and almost lost to the Jets. Calm down. And I find that humorous that this is a Panther fan sharing this, because they're sitting 6-0 as well. And if you live down here in North Carolina, there's almost just as much talk about a Super Bowl run or anything else, just like any other team would be sitting 6-0. But at least, unlike the Patriots, or at least the Patriots have played teams that are 500 or better, the Panthers have yet to beat a team other than Week 1 that started off 0-0, and moving forward have not beat a team that's at 500, and none of the teams that they played at this point are 500. I mean, their toughest opponent was the Seattle Seahawks, which are, 2-4 at this point? Yep. It's humorous to me that the Panthers fans are beginning to trash talk against, especially the Patriots, when you've absolutely positively played probably the worst 6 teams in the NFL.
Yeah, it's funny, and I grew up in Illinois my whole life, and I live in Virginia now. But when the Bears were good, it was just almost unreasonable to be around them. They talked about how great they were, and it made me hate the Bears. I never had a problem with the Bears. I'm a Cowboys fan. I've talked about that before. But being a fan of a team that you aren't in the city or in the state, or a near a location-based fan, to constantly hear how good another team is, it makes you hate them. I mean, I hate the Bears to this day, just because I had to deal with all the fans, always on Facebook, always on Twitter. In a bar, it was Bear Nation, and I would root for the Bears to lose. And you could point out all the facts you wanted, but at the end of the day, they're gonna talk what they want to talk, and we'll see. The Panthers definitely look like a team that is a contender this year so far, but time will tell.
Panthers 6-0. At this point last year, they'd almost won the division. They only had to go 7-8-1 last year to even win the division. So 6-0, they're already doing great. I don't want to take anything away from it, because you still had to play the game. You still had to beat these opponents. Right. Some of the opponents that these teams, their opponents have won games, so they are capable of winning, just not very often. Cam Newton, 3 interceptions, still managed to win last night. Defense, obviously, that defense is something to take serious look at. That defensive back, I want to say Coleman, whatever, number 24, the Panthers, very, very good defensive back. So, and of course, Keith Lee playing at the level he's playing. So I don't want to take anything away from the the Panthers. Just at the same time, I have still not seen them actually play anybody. So,
right. I mean, we talked before. I mean, in the Panthers and the Bengals, you can kind of throw them in the same group. They're looking good, playing well, but time will tell. And they're both 2 teams that really haven't proven themselves on a big stage. Andy Dalton and Cam Newton both haven't proven that they can win the playoff games and take their team on deep runs. So we'll see. But like you said, Panthers 6-0. I mean, they dominated the Eagles. Cam Newton threw 3 picks, but they really were able to take advantage of the weak linebacking core. And we talked about that on Tuesday as well, that the Eagles were decimated in the middle there with multiple injuries at the middle linebacker spot. Jonathan Stewart, he had 119 yards rushing. Mike Tolbert added 2 touchdowns. Newton had a rushing touchdown as well. So they're able to run the ball. They can play defense, and Newton's been able to make enough plays really to win them games and make the plays when it matters. And really, like you said, even though they haven't played the elite competition, you are what your record says you are, and they haven't lost. So can they keep going? I don't know. That's another question. But DeMarco Murray continues to struggle with the Eagles. I mean, 18 carries, 65 yards. He's making big-time money, one of the highest-paid running backs in the league. His backup or counterpart, whatever you want to call him, Ryan Matthews, continues to look like a better fit in that system, which is just crazy considering he makes a quarter of the amount of money that what they're paying DeMarco Murray. So as a Cowboys fan, I thought it was crazy for Murray to go to Philly to fit in that system, that spread offense where you're running side to side instead of north and south. Ryan Matthews is a much better fit. It'll be interesting to see if the Eagles stick with Murray because he's making the money, or do they go with Matthews because he's a better fit and really is a more dynamic playmaker in that offense and what Chip Kelly wants to do.
I agree. And my two questions were going to be is, one, do we see DeMarco Murray next year, or do they cut their losses and suck up the money that they got to pay him and try to deal him off? And then also Sam Bradford, I know he's only on a one-year contract. Has he showed us enough that they'll be bringing him back and give him a second year in that system, or do you think that they cut their losses on the whole Sam Bradford project and look for their future quarterback?
That's all going to depend on one thing, and we've heard early that Chip Kelly's linked to USC. Is he going to head back to the college football ranks maybe a year earlier than I expected him to? I don't know. I think Murray, with the amount of money they paid him, he'll at least have another year with the draft picks that have invested in Bradford. They almost have to give him another year because really what are they going to do at quarterback? I mean, Sanchez isn't exactly an upgrade. They know what he's capable of. But if Chip Kelly leaves and a new regime comes in, that coach is going to want their own system. And, on one hand, maybe it fits Murray better. Maybe it's a more downhill system. The Cowboys offensive coordinator, Scott Linehan, he could be linked to that job. He would love to have Murray. He would love to have Bradford, a good play-action passer. So it really depends. If Chip Kelly stays, I think they all stay. If they get a new coach, I think they get a coach that fits those players' skill sets just because they've invested so much money and so much financial commitment to them that really they can't afford to lose them or cut them because what are they going to do? They don't have any money to go sign anybody else, and they don't really have anybody as an heir apparent to take over those responsibilities that those players have. So interesting to see if the Eagles continue to slide. Chip Kelly might feel that pressure and run like I think he will. I thought it would be a year later, but with USC, that USC job being open, he very well could take off and maybe Philadelphia would find a coach in the sense that they can match the skill sets of players that they already have.
Definitely be interesting. I know Philadelphia Eagle fans going into the season are a little bit more hopeful than what they've gotten. I know that they were still scratching their head, not keeping Nick Foles and the whole Sam Bradford ordeal, but I know getting DeMarco Murray and having Ryan Matthews back there, that they were definitely excited going into the season, and it's kind of curious to see how long this project continues on in coaching and quarterback and running back position. So
the NFC East is weak. It's other than the AFC South with the Colts and the Texans and the disaster that's down there, it's probably the second weakest division in football. So if they were in any other division, who knows how they'd be doing. They're still right in it, so they could very well turn it around, but time will tell, and I said from the very, very beginning that this wasn't going to work out with Chip Kelly, and it just looks like it might be a little sooner than I thought.
Very weak conference. Don't tell any NFC fan that, and sure in the hell don't tell Kirk Cousins that. He was very hyped this weekend. He didn't take too kind to what Donovan McNabb had to say about them, and I think his performance kind of left it out there. And now I'm curious with that whole scenario is a lot of people kept lobbying for RG3. How do you approach that? If you've been lobbying for RG3 and you're a fan and you want RG3, but you saw the performance that Kirk Cousins is able to put up, do you continue to deal with the bad with the good, or do you still keep lobbying trying to get RG3 back on the field?
Well, the fans are going to want RG3 just because he's a playmaker, and they're still living in that rookie year where he arguably put up the best rookie season of any quarterback we've ever seen. But the fact is that Jay Gruden's system isn't cut out for RG3. He's not even the backup. He's third on the depth chart, so it's not going to happen. Kirk Cousins, he kind of reminds me of the the kid on your neighborhood block who got picked last in flag football or pickup football, and he's trying to prove his worth, and everybody knows he's not that good, but he kind of has that chip, and he's trying to live up to it, and he's all this the talk and the bravado is there, but in reality he's really a D-graded quarterback as far as the starter goes. I think he'll be a career backup, a guy that you could have on your team, but Kirk Cousins isn't the future in Washington. He's still in college, I think, and it's definitely not RG3 either, because I think he'll be on another team come next year.
So you kind of put Kirk Cousins in the same class as Matt Flynn.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, he plays like him too. He's about the same height. He excels in the things that Matt Flynn excels in. He can move a little bit. Has good accuracy. Struggles with long intermediate throws across the middle. He can read coverage as well, but he doesn't have the arm strength to be a top tier quarterback. So Matt Flynn's a perfect comparison, one I've never actually thought of. So yeah, I would put him right there with Matt Flynn.
Say what, I don't know if you got the game on or not, but Chris Johnson just about made that defense pay for not playing to the whistle. As the Baltimore Ravens thought they had Chris Johnson down. He was sitting on top of a defender. Don't even waste your red flag because he was not even down. But he was sitting on a defender, and they're showing the replay right now. He was sitting on top of it. Nothing ever went down, and he kind of just rolled on over and just continued on and ran down to about the 5-yard line. So,
I just looking at it now, yeah, he definitely wasn't down, but I'll give you credit there too, man. You had called Chris Johnson as a good pickup when no team wanted him, and I thought his better days were behind him. He's one of the top rushing leaders in the league, and he's definitely got something to prove, and he definitely has something left in the tank. That 4.2 speed he showed up, at the combine when he was a rookie. He's still got a little bit in there, and he's in a perfect system where his the speed he has left can be used to his good, used to his strengths. And Bruce Arians, man, I think he's such a good coach. You look at how that team's come since he's taken over, and the Cardinals really, other than last week, kind of a hiccup. I think that in the NFL, week to week, you can't really judge a team on how they're going to do over the long term. But he's a perfect fit for what Arians is doing there in Arizona.
That was a hiccup. That was radically odd that the Cardinals had.
It's crazy.
Yes.
The parity in the NFL, I mean, 1 week to the next, you can't really use it to gauge how good a team is or how bad a team is. I mean, for the Steelers to have Landry Jones come in and just really pick apart that defense, which I thought was one of the best in the league, is crazy. But when you game plan for a certain type of quarterback, Michael Vick, he's a runner, and then Landry Jones comes in, he's a pocket passer, totally different scheme, totally different, game plan that you would have had. So, a hiccup is what we'll call it, and the Cardinals look like they're going to be just fine as they move forward.
Bills and Jacksonville Jaguars are the next on your list, and I apologize before you came on that I was wrong. I questioned why they picked Jacksonville to be the team to go to London, a team that is, for the last handful of years, been your top 3 to top 5 draft picks, so they've sucked. And why, in the process of trying to expand your product and kind of lobby to have teams playing over there, would you send garbage over there? And we kind of knew what was getting out of Buffalo, a team that, they didn't expect at the beginning of the year to go back to E.J. Manuel, and, the NFL didn't expect them to be horrible again. But, that is what it is. But I would have, if it was me and I was the NFL and I was wanting to expand my product, it would have been Buffalo versus the Jets or Buffalo versus New England, not Buffalo against Jacksonville. I just didn't see that to be a good matchup, and I had to apologize because I was wrong. Jacksonville Jaguars not only showed up, but they managed to win this game. Very, very good game, and obviously put on a very good product for London and for those teams that went overseas. So I definitely tip my hat to Jacksonville and Buffalo for one hell of a game, and tip my hat to Jacksonville for the performance they put on. And Blake Bortles, way to show composure and take his team back down the field to win that game.
Yeah, I mean, we talked last week, it's like, gosh, what did London do to deserve such horrible matchups year in and year out? I mean, Jacksonville played last year against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys put it to them. But one thing you have to remember in that is that a team has to give up a home game to go over to London. So it's a neutral site game. Jacksonville is a perfect team to do it because, one, they have a brand new owner. Two, they're a bad football team, and they need a fan base. So they're going to look to any market they can to find a fan base. Three, they're on the East Coast. So Jacksonville, it's a lot easier for them to commit because they have, 3.5 hours less of flight time than the 49ers would or, the Seahawks would. So it makes a little more sense just logistically for the Jaguars to do it. But they ended up getting at least a competitive game. I don't know if it was a good game. The Bills had their basically third-string quarterback in with Matt Castle being on the Cowboys now. E.J. Manuel made a ton of mistakes, mental mistakes, physical mistakes. The Jags almost let him back in the game there at the end, but at least did give some excitement to the London market, the UK market, to create some brand awareness for the NFL. I think the star player from that game was T.J. Yeldon. He had 116 yards. I thought he was one of the best running backs in the draft. They had him graded at a 3rd to 4th round pick. The Jags moved up to get him, drafted him in the 2nd round out of Alabama, and he's looking like he could be a real strong piece for the Jaguars as they move forward. But, yeah, it was a good game. Glad to see, Europe got a competitive game. But, Jags blow a lead late. Bills can't figure out, what to do at the end. E.J. Manuel can't make the throws, make the reads to put them in a position to win. And what's crazy to think is a lot of people had the Bills as best teams in the league other than the quarterback position. So you grade their roster from top to bottom, not counting the quarterback, and they were 1, 2, 3, and they're sitting at 3-3, last place in the division. And with the way the Dolphins are playing, they're going to be in trouble. I mean, even when Tyrod Taylor comes back, is that going to be enough? Because they're going to have to play the Jets, the Patriots, the way the Dolphins are playing. I mean, they might be done. They might be out of playoff contention, as the months roll on.
The madness of this sport. It's just crazy to go from week to week. We just don't know half these teams and what they're going to do. And I know that's why we have Any Given Sunday. But like I said, going into this game, I gave Jacksonville no shot at all. And even with E.J. Manuel being their quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and they managed to pull that out. Dolphins dominate again. I heard some stats. I believe that there's been 25 interim coaches. None of them have taken their teams to the playoffs, and only 7 of them, I want to say 7 of them have full-time jobs or got full-time jobs, and I think the only one left is Jason Garrett. Interim coach are not something commonly that work out, and so I'm getting drawn into this because of the Cinderella story that what if this guy gets his opportunity because the team has fallen apart and he is able to turn a team around and take them to the playoffs or have an opportunity to have a coaching career there. Obviously, he's changed up the game plan. They're running the ball more. They seem to be playing with a purpose. I like the fire underneath this team, and I know a lot of people are throwing out there the fact that both their opponents have been horrible opponents. But it is one thing if they would have barely beat these teams, but they've been beating these teams with a lot of force. The games are not even close. So I like the fact that they look like they're kicking on all cylinders. Now, once they play somebody, I know they got the Patriots coming up. We'll kind of get a truer read of this team, and obviously, we'll either be talking about them if they keep this game close or beat the Patriots. Yeah, obviously, if they get their butts handed to them, then we won't be talking about the Dolphins anymore. So I like this. This was a team that I was high on going into the year. I was never high on Tannehill when he came in. Just a punter turned quarterback. I just don't see this happening and being a good idea. Then, things started to turn around last year, and Tannehill started looking like a legitimate quarterback. Had high expectations this year. Didn't see it so far. So I hope that for the coach's sake and for the players' sake that this is something that continues on. It's horrible to see. I think this is like one of the worst seasons in the NFL when it comes to teams below 500. I think we have more teams below 500 than ever before. So it would be nice to start seeing some teams win some games, and Miami would be a team that I'd like to see win some games.
Yeah, I mean, Dan Campbell, the crazy part is he wasn't even a coordinator. I mean, he was the tight ends coach. Miami completely cleans house. Offensive coordinator fired, defensive coordinator fired, and they promote Dan Campbell. And like you said, he's running the ball more. He's a real fiery guy. He was a hard-nosed tight end for the Giants, the Cowboys, a couple different teams. So he really changed the culture there. In the instances that you referred to, Jason Garrett, at the time when he was named interim coach, he was making almost as much money as Wade Phillips was. So he was basically anointed the next head coach anyway. But Dan Campbell can continue to move the Dolphins forward and win. I mean, how could you not give the guy the job? I mean, he's never had a head coaching job in his entire career, but if he's winning games and gets you into the playoffs after you were basically counted out in a really tough division, how could it not be his job? But I'd like to see how, they played the Texans, who are, they've been absolutely dreadful all season. They dominated him. It was like a video game. I thought I was playing my little brother in Madden or something. I look at the score and it's like 35-0, and it's not even halftime yet. So I couldn't really believe how, even a bad NFL team, for them to be down that much is pretty crazy. But they haven't played anybody yet. So let's see what they do when they go into New England. Let's see what happens when they have to play the Jets. The Bills even. I'd like to see a team that has a real strong defense, or a real good core team, or a strong quarterback, and how the Dolphins react. Because right now I think they're kind of flying on emotion, where Campbell's changed the culture. They're working hard. They're getting after it. And when you break up with a girlfriend and meet a new girl, it's a lot easier to be really into her at first. But does that mean it's going to last forever? So same analogy there. Maybe the honeymoon, is it going to wear off? I don't know. It'll be tough for Dan Campbell to retain the job if he doesn't get him in the playoffs, I'll tell you that, because the odds are against him just because he doesn't have the pedigree, he doesn't have the background. The management staff is going to want to have a guy who has done it before.
What happens if he leads them to a plus 500 record under his regime, but they still don't make the playoffs? Is that still not good enough?
It still won't be good enough. He has to make the playoffs, especially when you look at that roster, the money they've invested in those players. I mean, they paid Sue more money than any defensive tackles ever made. They inked up Tannehill for big money. I mean, he's got to get him in the playoffs. I think that's the only way. The Dolphins were picked to go to the Super Bowl by some people. They were definitely a playoff team in most people's minds. So if he doesn't make it to the playoffs, they still fall short. Sucks for him, but either way, it's a career builder, for him. He's been a head coach now. He'll probably get picked up as an offensive coordinator somewhere. But if he doesn't make the playoffs, he won't be the head coach.
Yeah, and that definitely sucks for him because he was taking over a team that was in the hole already, and now you got the Jets that are 4-2. You got New England still undefeated. You got Cincinnati undefeated. The Steelers 4-3. You got Denver undefeated. So getting a wild card spot is going to be very difficult with some of these teams. Fortunately for them, they ain't got to worry about anybody coming out of the AFC South for a wild card. At this point, we don't know if they're going to have a 500 team come out of that conference or out of that conference or
right.
Division. So,
yep.
Two other interesting things about that game: total rushing yards, 248 yards for the Miami Dolphins, easily 71 for Houston. And also the fact that Ryan Mallett missed the flight and was the only guy not flying with the team. I know that a lot of people clown him about that.
Yeah. Well, Mallett has character concerns going all the way back to high school. Mallett was a Texas quarterback at a real high-end Texas high school football. And if anybody knows Texas, they think everything's bigger in Texas. And high school football there is basically pro football to the towns and the communities that are involved. He ends up coming out of high school, gets in trouble for drinking, gets in trouble in college for cocaine, gets all sorts of trouble. So he's had all sorts of personal issues. So Mallett's always kind of been living in the gray area as far as what is he doing in his free time. So I don't know what he was doing this past week, but to miss a flight to your NFL football game when you're the starting quarterback of an NFL team is absolutely unexcusable. I mean, it's beyond words. I mean, when you make millions of dollars to play football and you have to be to work once a week, essentially. I mean, I know they practice, but for you to miss your flight. Would you not set your alarm? I mean, what's the excuse? You're running late for work. You have to call your boss. What is he going to say? So I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Colts continue to struggle. It's funny that they continue to struggle, yet they're still in first place. And, oh, goodness, it's now starting to affect off the field with the coach Bacano and the silly plays they had last week. And I don't know. This team is just rather odd to me because this team, every year since Andrew Luck has been there, they just seem to get better and better. And then all of a sudden, it's just like everything's been resetted. And I'm not delusional. There's no doubt in my mind that the Indianapolis Colts were not that horrible the year that they sucked for Luck. There's no doubt in my mind they intentionally went out and did what they did. I'm sorry, 63 to nothing at one point at the Saints. That told me enough that just because you remove one quarterback, all of a sudden your defense can't play as well. Because regardless of what your offense does, your defense should not give up 63 points. So I'm not delusional to think that Andrew Luck was the answer and miraculously turned this team into a playoff team. They were the players were there. They just didn't care. They knew what they wanted. They knew what they had to do to get what they wanted. But even with that said, they continuously have gotten better since he's been there, and is giving that team and that city a whole lot of hope. And this year, I can't put my finger on. You still got a good run game. You still got good receivers. You still got Andrew Luck. Indianapolis has got to find it and find it quick. Being 3-4 and still in the lead of the division, something's got to change.
You're right, and I'm not going to compare. Let's take the quarterbacks out of the situation. I'm not going to compare them to the Patriots roster because that's not fair. I think Belichick is an absolute magician in what he does with players. But let's compare him to the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have a great quarterback, one of the best in the league, Aaron Rodgers, and they have an average depth chart outside of him. They have holes on defense. They have injury concerns this year. But for the most part, if they didn't have Aaron Rodgers, they wouldn't be a playoff team. And I think the Colts, the way the general management staff looked at that team is that, okay, let's just put an average, let's fill holes with veteran players. Let's go out. They go out and sign Frank Gore. They go out and sign Andre Johnson. With Andrew Luck, he's a top-flight quarterback. We'll be okay. Well, Andrew Luck hasn't been playing like a top-flight quarterback. He's been playing below average. I mean, and people have anointed him as the second coming of Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, and rightfully so in a way. I mean, he showed early on that he could do it. He showed in college that he had the skill set to do it, but he hasn't done it at the pro level. And I remember talking maybe a month or two ago that you compared him to Drew Bledsoe. And, man, does he look a lot like Drew Bledsoe this year. I mean, he really does. I mean, they kind of put their eggs in one basket. And as he continues to play mediocrely, the dollar signs are just falling off that contract he's going to sign. I had talked that he was going to sign a record extension here maybe next year. He'd bet on himself, lead the Colts to the playoffs. Who knows? A lot of people had him in the Super Bowl. But really, it's an average roster, and they thought they had a great quarterback, and he's not playing like a great quarterback. He's playing like a below-average quarterback. So what do you know? They're a game below 500. Luckily, they're in the AFC South, and they're in control of the division. But the Colts will go as Andrew Luck goes, and right now he is just not living up to the expectation. He's not even really coming close to the expectation. So he needs to pick it up. I don't know if defenses have figured him out. I know they have a lot of concerns with the offensive line. But come on, he has to make better plays. He has to keep his team in the game, and right now he's turning the ball over too much, and it's caused turmoil with the front office, the coaching staff. The chemistry is off in Indianapolis, and I really think if it continues to go like this, they'll get rid of Pagano, who's a defensive-minded coach, and go with an offensive-minded quarterback guru type guy that can really guide Luck, to do what he wants. And I've heard one name thrown out there, Jim Harbaugh. Would he really leave Michigan after a year? Who knows? To get back with Andrew Luck, he might. But that was the rumor I had heard, on social media and stuff. But who knows? I
was going to say, if Jim Harbaugh wouldn't have had the season that Michigan's had so far this season, it probably will finish. Then I could see him possibly, it had been a one-year stint. Okay, I got called back up to the NFL. but because Michigan almost turned around almost instantly, just the game, the week one loss, and then the missed fumble glimpse a couple weeks ago at Michigan State is really the only bad marks on this whole season. I can't see him going anywhere. I see him staying there until he reaches his goal, and honestly, that would be a national title for Michigan.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd agree with you there, too. I mean, Jim Harbaugh's a Michigan guy. He went to Michigan. I think he came to the NFL and didn't like the egos and having to deal with the GM and an owner and balance all that to win the games. He has complete control at Michigan, but it's always an interesting topic to talk about if he could be reunited with Luck, considering he coached him at Stanford. What he doing? So, interesting thing to keep an eye on. I don't know. The Colts will go as far as Andrew Luck takes them, and right now he's not taking them very far. And luckily for them, they're in a weak division, arguably the weakest. If they were in any division other than the AFC South or the NFC East, they wouldn't be in contention right now.
Now, speaking of teams in contention, I know that the New Orleans Saints are not in contention, but they have won 3 of the last 4. So obviously they have fixed whatever issues they had to start them off 0-3. Now, obviously, they don't get a lot of talk because Carolina being 6-0 and Atlanta being 6-1. But should the Saints start being on our radar, seeing how they have turned around, and Atlanta was one of the teams they beat, so they beat legitimate teams. It's not like they just happen to get a couple weak games. They're beating opponents. They beat the Colts. They beat the Falcons. So should we take a little more consideration when we're looking at the Saints and what the possibilities could be, especially if they keep running on the streak they're running? And also, did you also get a chuckle of the fact that it was kind of like the New Orleans Saints were kind of throwing in their face, the Colts, that is, with the fake field goal and kind of showing them this is how you pull off a fake play?
You can never, when you have a good coach and a good quarterback in this league, you can never count anybody out, especially early in the year. Drew Brees, he's a top-tier quarterback. Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. He's a great coach. They've done a lot of different things to rebuild that roster in a way that, helps Drew Brees. They got rid of Jimmy Graham in a move that a lot of people thought was just complete insanity, but they got a Pro Bowl center. They got another first-round pick. They saved money in shipping off Jimmy Graham's contract to the Seahawks. Definitely take notice to them. I mean, they opened up with a tough team in Arizona. They've lost to the Panthers. They've lost to the Eagles, but, they beat the Colts, the Falcons. They're on a hot streak. I mean, they're definitely in contention for right now just for a wild card spot. But when you have Drew Brees and Sean Payton, those two minds working together, I don't think you can ever count them out when there's still games to be played.
Now, the next one on the list is the Raiders and Chargers, and I got this game. As horrible as my record was, I got this game right. There was something about the Chargers putting the energy they did into the games they did and coming up short, and what Oakland, the possibilities with Oakland, especially with Parr and Cooper. And I'm glad I went with that way because they definitely proved me right with this game. The thing that sticks out to me the most is Amari Cooper, third 100th game. The first rookie receiver to do that since, I want to say it's the 1961 Mike Ditka. I don't know if you saw the replay of his touchdown, but he had the San Diego Chargers tripping on their own 2 feet. Was rather amusing to watch. Oakland, and I'm thinking of this weekend as well, at home. I forget who they're playing at home, but they got a tough opponent at home this week. I went ahead and picked them as well, so I'm trying to look real quick so I know who exactly that they are playing.
They play the Jets. They play the Jets at home.
Yeah, I went in the wrong week. Yeah, so I still picked I picked Oakland again this weekend, and as good as that Jets defense is, I have a lot of respect for that Oakland defense as well. Chris Ivory and the Jets, they just really never got their run game going this week. So, I think you got an evenly matched up game, but the records don't show that. But San Diego, the Chargers, I thought going into the year that if any team was going to beat Denver, it was going to be San Diego. I thought it was San Diego's division division to lose at this point, not so much Denver. And the way Denver's playing, they shouldn't even beat Denver's division. It should be somebody else's, but that's not how it is. And that defense has bailed out Peyton Manning and offense, and we've discussed that many times. But I'm really surprised on how poor the San Diego team is. And I want to say I'm surprised on how good this Oakland team's been playing, but I'm not really. You look at the talents on that offense. Michael Crabtree's playing up to the Michael Crabtree we expected him to be. Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, that defense, Woodson, Tuck. They're playing as a unit, and as every week goes on, they're getting more and more confident. And I wouldn't be surprised in the next year or so we talk about the Oakland Raiders in the playoffs. Maybe not winning a playoff game, but at least in the playoffs.
No, I don't. I mean, it could be this year, man. I wouldn't even. I had them as a wild card team heading into the year. They have a great coach in Del Rio. He was a guy that's already been a head coach, went to the Broncos, kind of recycled himself. I always love a coach. I mean, Bill Belichick, perfect. He coached your Browns, didn't do well, takes a step back, becomes a coordinator. His second time around has a little more figured out. So second time around coaches, I always think you got to put a little extra faith in them, especially when they're as savvy and well groomed as Del Rio. But Carr's playing great. He's got almost 1,500 yards passing. The number that sticks out with me for him is the fact that he's only thrown 3 interceptions. Oakland has Latavius Murray at running back. He has he's having a good year as well. And then, like you said, Amari Cooper. But the thing that stood out with Amari Cooper for me is he runs routes like he's been in this league 10 years. I mean, the guy can run routes, and it's so tough. It's so tough to teach receivers when they enter this league to run the right route, to read the coverages. It's not something they had to do in college. In the NFL, you have to read coverages on the run, and Cooper looks like he's been in the league 4 or 5 years. He's unbelievable. Crabtree's playing perfect. He's playing second fiddle to Cooper, so he fits in well there. Really, we'll be talking about him, I think, for the next few years, no doubt about it. I don't think they'll be in Oakland. I think what they're doing and what the management staff in Oakland has done is they built a contender that can move to L.A. and really take over the L.A. market.
Yeah, I so wish they would just decide what they're doing and move one of the teams and get it over with. I'm tired of the discussion on who's moving, when's moving, and everything. So,
but well,
go ahead.
I
was going to go ahead, finish this. I was going to talk about Todd Gurley, who you had up on the next topic. So
yeah. I mean, perfect segue. Cooper's having a hell of a year, but man, Todd Gurley's come onto the scene where it's basically a two-way race for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's 442 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and the dude just looks like a beast. I mean, he was unbelievable at Georgia till that ACL tear. Got scared away there, maybe dropped a few spots in the draft. Rams pick him up, and he's really carried that offense. It'd be unbelievable to see what he could do with a real quarterback, at the helm, because Gurley's really keeping the Rams afloat on the offensive side of the ball. I don't know. What do you think, Gurley or Cooper, Rookie of the Year?
Tough decision, and right now, I would. Oh, it's tough because on one aspect you're looking at Todd Gurley. I know you got an offensive line. I know it's not an individual game, but essentially he's got to work for every yard. Now Cooper,
right.
All he's got to do is just catch a reception 50 yards down the field, and he gets credit for 50 yards. So he doesn't necessarily have to work for every yard, but you also don't get as many touches, you don't get as many opportunities, and you also got to be in sync with your quarterback that you don't necessarily worry about being a running back. So you kind of got both sides of this to look at it when I'm trying to evaluate who I feel should be Rookie of the Year. Wow.
You can't go wrong. I think it's a coin flip at this point, but yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that holds Gurley back is if he somehow aggravates his knee. But with the pace that he's on, he could very well do it. But if one of the teams make the playoffs, I think that might have something to do with it too. But I think it's kind of a trick question because it's a little too tough to call at this point.
If I had to pick somebody today, I think I would go with Amari Cooper, just because he has done something that's not been done since 1961, and they are beating opponents that I guess people didn't expect him to beat. I guess because this is a Raider team, we expect more out of the St. Louis Rams. This is a team that's been improving every year under Jeff Fisher, and a team that is kind of, it seems like every year kind of been on the verge of being ready for the next year. They're going to make the playoffs. Next year they're going to make the playoffs. Oakland, most years we're talking about, okay, maybe next year they'll win 4 games, or next year maybe they'll win 6 games. I know it's not fair because of expectations, but I guess that's kind of why I would one of the things I would throw in is they're doing something that nobody's expecting them to do. And, we're kind of, we're just used to the greatest show on turf. And I know it's unfair to Gurley, but that's, that's kind of what I look at also is, we expected Todd Gurley and the Rams to do a certain thing, and we didn't expect the Oakland Raiders and for Cooper to step up and step into this role, especially knowing that he's got Michael Crabtree on the field at the same time to compete with for, targets. Gurley ain't got to worry about that. He's getting the ball. He was drafted in the first round for a reason and was drafted for a purpose. Oakland drafted Cooper early, but, how many rookie receivers come out, and we really expect them to perform the way Cooper's performed on top of actually having another target that's good as well. So, if I had a scale and I'm sitting here raising my hand up and down both sides, that it would be too close to tell a difference, but I would lean towards Cooper's side right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing things that we haven't seen before, so that's a good point. But I can't wait to see how it plays out, getting to talk to you week after week. We get to follow it close. So.
Most definitely, I think our attention will definitely start being more focused on that now that both of them have kind of fell into their roles, accepted their roles, and are making the most of it. So definitely give us something to talk about. And we got more things we're definitely going to talk about tomorrow and get everybody prepared for the I'm jumping way ahead of myself. Week 8 of the NFL, the 2016 season. Wow, where am I going? We've managed to go past our time once again, and so I'm going to cut this short because I'm the house. Son of a gun. My chair just every once in a while automatically shoots down on its own. I got one of those chairs that has this thing on the side to lift up, and I don't know if it's not really in the show, but I've had horrible back pains for the last 3 days, been barely able to move, being able to get up and down. So, of course, when this chair shot down, the whole chair shook, so therefore it shot a pain through my back, which was just like, wow. Yeah, but definitely looking forward to tomorrow having you back on at 10 o'clock to finish wrapping everything up and get everything ready for Week 8. I want to thank you once again for joining me for another hour of NFL talk, and I will let you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Always fun, man. Look forward to it tomorrow. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, you too. That was Patrick Taylor from Line Blowers. Great guy. Glad to always have him on the show. Glad to have his time. And I tell you what, you have no idea how much I appreciate having him on the show, nor does he really truly understand how much we appreciate him helping us out here at the 110. He has no vested interest in this company, no position at this company or anything else. He does that because he enjoys coming on talking NFL. He enjoys, I know he gets exposure and helps get Line Blower exposure, and I know, the purpose behind it, but, it's only a quick plug, and then he spends an hour talking. And, of course, I try to plug them as much as we can on social media and on the shows, and every time we talk about the shows coming on. And so we try to constantly plug Line Blowers and lineblowers.com and at line_blower for Instagram and Twitter, so make sure you guys follow them. But you can't imagine how much we appreciate someone that just gives their time and just has a genuine interest in just coming on and talking NFL. So definitely got to thank him for that. Don't forget, we got him tomorrow at 10 o'clock for 10 to 10:30. We also got Izzo joining us at 10:30 to 11 to talk NHL. Looking forward to that. I'm not sure if we have any guests. I have not seen an agenda yet this list. I've not seen an agenda yet this week, so I'm not sure. I know that there was a possibility of having Amber Balkan back on the show tonight. She was supposed to be on last Monday. There was a miscommunication last week, and then work tied her up this week. So we're looking forward to hopefully get her on Wednesday. I think that Miss Lee has a couple other people scheduled this week. I will find out either later on tonight or tomorrow. Of course, that will be posted in the show description when we get it passed out on social media. So make sure either you follow me or like me on Facebook, Mr. CJ Sport, our sport side of the house, 110 Nation Sports, or the radio and guest side of the house, 110 Nation Sports Radio. Don't forget, tomorrow morning we will debut the 110 Nation Morning Show. So make sure you guys check that out. We will get you guys caught up on like tonight's game that the Cardinals were leading. They are leading 26-10. So we'll recap that. We'll recap anything that comes out NASCAR-wise, and anything else we need to pass on. Just our morning show that we're debuting tomorrow. So make sure you guys check that out. Make sure you check out our website, www.110nation.com. Check out our blog site, www.110nationsports.com. Until tomorrow night, you guys have a great night.